I'm Abigail Galván. Welcome to EWTN Pro-Life Weekly.
We hope that this continues to lead to more states passing laws protecting kids from these drugs and surgeries.
A victory for the protection of minors as the Supreme Court rules in favor of Tennessee's ban on life-altering puberty blockers. What this means for other states with similar bans.
The one thing that doesn't seem to be part of this process is the unborn baby, and that concerns me greatly.
A major blow to the pro-life cause in England and Wales as members of parliament vote to decriminalize abortion. Combating child trafficking and online pedophilia. We speak to the founder of an organization in Italy that is helping to shut down websites that target children. We are following major developments at the U.S. Supreme Court that impact several areas of the pro-life movement. And we begin with a big win for the dignity of life. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's ban on puberty blockers and hormone treatments for minors suffering from gender dysphoria. 3 Tennessee families and a doctor originally sued. The Biden administration joined them, arguing that the ban discriminated based on sex in violation of the 14th Amendment. Tennessee insisted the law distinguishes based on a treatment's medical purpose, not sex. In a 6-3 decision, the High Court ruled that Tennessee's ban does not amount to sex discrimination and can remain in place. The Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti is celebrating the decision.
This is a big win for evidence-based medicine. This is a big win for democracy, for letting state governments decide what state laws should be.
Matt Sharp, senior counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom, joins us now to talk about the implications of this case and several others. Matt, Tennessee's Attorney General is calling this a landmark victory in defense of America's children. Right now, there are 25 other states with similar bans on life-altering puberty blockers. Does this decision protect those state laws?
Yes, it does. No child should be subject to these dangerous puberty blockers and hormones. And in response to the growing evidence, over half the country have passed laws like Tennessee's that protect children from these puberty blockers and hormones and instead prioritize good counseling to help children struggling with gender dysphoria. So we hope that this continues to lead to more states passing laws protecting kids from these drugs and surgeries, because that's ultimately going to be good for kids in our country struggling with these issues.
Now, on Monday, justices did rule in favor of Catholic nuns fighting New York State's abortion mandate, which forces them to cover employees' abortions. Justices ordered a New York court to take another look at the challenges. Quickly, can you share your thoughts?
Yeah, over 10 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Hobby Lobby and Conestoga Woods that the federal government can't force people of faith to pay for abortions. New York is trying to bypass that, and so it was great to see the Supreme Court intervene and step in and tell the New York courts, you need to follow the law, you need to protect religious liberty, and you shouldn't be forcing nuns to pay for abortions.
This week, the Supreme Court agreed to hear a pro-life pregnancy center case out of New Jersey. First Choice Women's Resource Centers, which Alliance Defending Freedom represents, is fighting a subpoena from the state attorney general. That subpoena seeks a list of its donors, advertisements, and medical personnel. Can you talk to us about this case and its implications for pregnancy centers across the U.S.?
Well, for many years, the New Jersey Attorney General has been very hostile to pro-life groups, including pregnancy centers. It's labeled pro-life groups as extremist, and in this case has been trying to use subpoena power to force First Choice to disclose 10 years plus of information. So we're encouraged to see the Supreme Court take up this case, because this is part of a larger nationwide pattern of attorneys generals and government officials going after pregnancy centers, trying to discriminate them and to undermine the life-saving work that they do for women and children.
Another case justices agreed to hear this week is a lawsuit that challenges Colorado's ban on conversion therapy for minors suffering from gender dysphoria. Can you explain what's going on here?
Well, Colorado's law forces kids down a one-way street that leads to the puberty blockers, hormones, and dangerous surgeries that can have irreversible consequences for young kids. And it does so by censoring counselors like our client, Kaylee Childs, who want to help kids who are dealing with these struggles, who who want to help kids to find comfort with their biological sex and their bodies. And so by standing for Kaylee, we're standing against Colorado's censorship and ultimately helping to defend kids that are dealing with these confusions over their identity, over their sexuality, and to protect counselors and clients' freedom to have open, honest conversations.
Thank you, Matt. And then is there anything else you think our viewers should be aware of or that we should be keeping an eye on as the Supreme Court releases more decisions?
Well, we're hopeful for a great decision in the Mahmoud case. This is one of dealing with parental rights and the ability of families to shield their children from dangerous, harmful content being pushed on children in public schools. So we want to see parental rights be further protected by the U.S. Supreme Court and hope for a decision here in the next week or so in that case.
That's great. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
So the ayes have it, unlock.
A landmark decision in British Parliament, where lawmakers have voted 370 to 137 to decriminalize abortion in England and Wales. Abortion is legal up to 24 weeks right now, but 2 doctors must authorize the decision. Abortion is only legal after 24 weeks in England and Wales if there is a risk to the mother's life or health or a substantial risk of serious fetal abnormality. The amendment will now prevent women from being prosecuted for terminating the life of their baby after 24 weeks, although medical professionals who aid in the process could still be prosecuted. Parliament members debated for several hours on the amendment.
Women affected are often acutely vulnerable, victims of domestic abuse and violence, human trafficking and sexual exploitation, girls under the age of 18, and women who have suffered miscarriage, stillbirth, or who have given birth prematurely, facing invasive and prolonged criminal investigations that cause long-term harm.
Is there any other area of law governing the taking of life where the guardrails of the criminal law have been removed? And yet that is what is proposed here when it comes to the voiceless child. Is there no thought of protection for them?
Conservative lawmakers have warned that the amendment is the first step to expanding abortion time limits. The House of Commons must now pass its broader crime bill before it goes to the House of Lords, where it can be delayed but not blocked. In the U.S., the Senate Finance Committee has unveiled its portion of the budget reconciliation bill, and it includes a provision to stop funding the abortion industry. The committee kept the changes in the Medicaid spending that disqualify abortion vendors from receiving taxpayer-funded Medicaid payments. This also includes ending payments for gender transition procedures. Pro-life leaders are praising the move. Students for Life President Kristen Hawkins said, quote, "We are one step closer to ending the tyranny of forced taxpayer funding of abortion vendors who have infiltrated America's healthcare, draining life-saving resources away from full-service medical care." The DOJ Subcommittee Chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is launching an investigation into Planned Parenthood. In a letter to Alexis McGill, the CEO of Planned Parenthood, Representative Greene of Georgia wrote in part that despite receiving 39% of its annual revenue from federal funds intended for essential health services, such as cancer screenings and wellness exams, Planned Parenthood is increasingly using its resources to offer abortion to its patients. Federal funds are barred from being used for abortions under the Hyde Amendment. Greene is asking for a list of all non-public financial statements from Planned Parenthood, along with consent forms, contracts, and guidelines for abortions, to name a few. 4 pro-abortion states are asking the Food and Drug Administration to lift safety restrictions on the abortion pill. In 2021, the FDA removed some safety guidelines, including requiring in-person doctor visits to get a prescription. They now allow it to be prescribed by telemedicine and mailed to patients. Attorneys General of Massachusetts, New York, California, and New Jersey filed a petition to lift regulatory framework called Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategy, or REMS. This includes removing prescriber and pharmacy certifications and removing the patient agreement form. The petition says these restrictions on the deadly drug are no longer justified by science or law because of, quote, mifepristone's well-established 25-year safety record.
The FDA expressly said it lacked sufficient scientific literature to show the safety of telehealth or mail order chemical abortion drugs on its own terms. We really point to at the end of the day, because we don't want the courts to get mired in the battle of the sciences and the studies. What they can look at is just look at the own words of the FDA and how it removed common sense safeguards, and that's expressly in violation of the law.
The FDA is required to respond within 180 days. A birth control shot also used to treat conditions like endometriosis and uterine fibroids has been linked to an increased risk of developing a brain tumor. A study published in the British Medical Journal found that injections of medroxyprogesterone, known as Depo-Provera, made women 5 times more likely to suffer a non-cancerous type of brain tumor called meningioma. Hundreds of women across the U.S. have filed lawsuits against the manufacturer, Pfizer. Pfizer has acknowledged risks of the drug if used long-term and issued some warning labels in some countries, but not the U.S. The drug was used by an estimated 74 million women, according to a 2019 UN study. A baby boy has been delivered from the 31-year-old Georgia mother who was declared brain dead but kept alive on life support. The family of Adriana Smith tells news outlets that the baby, named Chance, was delivered by an emergency C-section at 25 weeks gestation. At 1 pound and 13 ounces, he is being cared for in the neonatal intensive care unit. Smith was declared brain dead at 8 weeks into her pregnancy back in February. Her story gained national attention because she was kept on life support. This was due to the state's Advanced Directive for Healthcare Act, not the state's Life Act. Georgia's Advanced Directive for Healthcare Act states that if a pregnant woman is unconscious and the unborn child is viable, certain life-sustaining procedures may not be withdrawn. The New York State Catholic Conference is urging New Yorkers to reach out to the governor and ask her to veto an assisted suicide bill. Both the New York Senate and Assembly passed a bill which would allow terminally ill adults to request medication to end their life. The bill is sitting on Governor Kathy Hochul's desk, and she has not yet signed it as of the taping of this show. Cardinal Timothy Dolan says he has urged the governor to veto the bill.
Suicide is in effect when somebody's struggling emotionally as well as physically. And that's when people are so desperate, and we have to help their mental health so that they don't go for suicide. And that's why we don't want the physician-assisted suicide. She didn't commit herself, but something tells me her gut's not into this. So I'm hoping she'll take the courageous, right thing to do.
You can log into nyscatholic.org to write a message which will be sent directly to the governor's office asking for her to veto the bill.
This should not be an either-or for dying people. It should also not be an either-or for us as legislators to choose between supporting assisted dying or other end-of-life choices.
And there's no greater responsibility than protecting the vulnerable from feeling they have to end their life.
On Friday, June 13th, members of British Parliament debated additional changes to an assisted suicide bill. In England and Wales, this bill could allow terminally ill adults expected to die within 6 months to ask to end their life. It already passed its first stage in the House of Commons last November. Since then, dozens of amendments have been added. Opponents of the bill say stronger protections for the most vulnerable are needed. And some say the country should focus on improving end-of-life care rather than assisted dying. Supporters of the bill remain confident it will clear the parliamentary pushback and become law. Another day of debate will take place on Friday, June 20th. If the bill is approved at all stages in the House of Commons, it will go to the House of Lords for further review. Sweden may halt all international adoptions after an alarming investigation unveiled decades of abuse and fraud, including child trafficking. The investigation found that some children brought to Sweden were adopted without parental consent, falsely declared dead, or handed over by individuals who were not their legal guardians. The commission on the case has urged Sweden's government to issue a formal apology to adoptees and their families. The probe was launched in 2021 following a report by a Swedish newspaper, which exposed major issues within the country's international adoption system. Investigators have found confirmed cases of child trafficking in every decade, from the 1970s to the 2000s, including from Sri Lanka, Colombia, Poland, and China. An organization out of Italy is working to combat child trafficking and online pedophilia. Association Meter found in their annual report a more than 220% increase in reported videos from the previous year. Zofia Schobach spoke with the association's founder about the mission to save children.
Father Fortunato Di Noto found 3 million photos and 2 million videos of children being abused online in 2024, together with his team, Association Meter. The Sicily-based organisation released an annual report for 2024 on worldwide paedophilia and paedopornography.
The most dramatic thing is that child pornographers use the internet to commit digital sexual violence against children all over the world.
In 2008, Association Meter started regular cooperation with the Italian State Police and organisations like the United Nations Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute.
And perhaps the seriousness of the problem has not yet been grasped, to such an extent that we've also discovered the sexual exploitation of children with newborn babies still in the delivery room and with the dramatic phenomenon of infantophilia.
Like many other institutions, the Catholic Church has faced the challenge of grappling with child sexual abuse and abuse cover-up.
The world is watching us, especially how we have treated the little ones within the Church. And it is also watching how we deal with abusers. We have survivors, victims of abuse by priests, who still live with deep emotional wounds.
One survivor shared their story of abuse.
When I was 14 years old, I received inappropriate attention from a member of the clergy. These attentions continued until I was around 19 or 20. I should say that this situation was made easier, or more likely, because my parents were separated. That context, unfortunately, made me more vulnerable. It wasn't until adulthood that I found the courage to break free from that situation. And I was only able to forgive this person through a journey of faith.
Father Fortunato is supported by many volunteers and family. The organisation gathered in St. Peter's Square for their 29th annual Day of Child Victims.
I chose to take this path, one that offers a kind of rebirth for those who have experienced abuse.
Elena, who is only 14 years old, believes her age can be a benefit in helping out her peers who have been victims of abuse.
I could help all the young people my age in case they find themselves in this situation. If they are unable to communicate directly with someone older from the association, I could be a point of reference with whom they could speak more comfortably.
I believe that being here is an important act of witness, because what does it mean to have a child in the times we're living in today? It means giving them a future and also a present.
Father Di Noto and Association Meter continue to fight the alarming spread of child sexual abuse material online. Through their World Observatory Against Paedophilia, they report abusive content directly to the police. Beyond prevention, the organisation also offers refuge and healing to survivors. Zofia Schobach in Rome for EWTN Pro-Life Weekly.
As the age of artificial intelligence rapidly advances, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops is offering ethical principles and policy recommendations on AI to lawmakers on Capitol Hill. In a letter, they address a wide range of issues, including the impact of AI on family life, labor, economy, healthcare, energy, and warfare. They are urging Congress to include moral criteria in their decision-making so that AI can be used for the good of all and can benefit humanity. Bishops in Maryland are also warning that AI must always serve the person and never diminish or replace human dignity. In a pastoral letter, the bishops say they are concerned about the displacement of workers and erosion of stable labor, as well as biases and algorithms that reinforce injustice, the manipulation of truth and distortion of democratic processes, and the use of AI and lethal autonomous weapons, which remove moral agency from decisions of life and death. They go on to say that despite their concerns, they know that if used ethically, AI can greatly contribute to the mission of the church and common good. A 2% rise of pro-lifers. That's according to a new Gallup poll that says 43% of people identify as pro-life. But there is a big difference in what men and women think. The annual survey indicates that 32% of women identify as pro-life. Among men, the number is 54%. Unfortunately, the secular belief that abortion is morally acceptable is holding strong for women at 57%. Among men, the number is 40%. Coming up, an effort on Capitol Hill to honor life. We'll explain. Plus, it's a whole new kind of ballgame. Pope Leo XIV's first address to Americans. We bring you the highlights of this historic event when we return. Stay with us.
I'd like to send a special word of greeting to all the young people.
Pope Leo XIV's first address to an American audience. In a video aired at White Sox Park in his hometown of Chicago, the Holy Father greeted a packed stadium of Catholics gathered to celebrate a Mass in his honor. Pope Leo is a staunch White Sox fan. The Holy Father shared a video message addressed to the young people of the world.
To, once again, the young people who are gathered here, I'd like to say that you are the promise of hope for so many of us. The world looks to you as you look around yourselves and says, we need you. We want you to come together to share with us in this common mission as church and in the society of announcing a message of true hope and of promoting peace, promoting harmony among all peoples.
Pope Leo mentioned the teachings of St. Augustine several times throughout his address. The main celebrant of the Mass was Cardinal Blaise Cupich, the Archbishop of Chicago. Before the Mass, there was music and prayers. The Archdiocese of Chicago estimates that some 30,000 people took part in the celebration. On Capitol Hill, there is an effort to designate June as Life Month to honor the Supreme Court decision that overturned Roe v. Wade on June 24, 2022. The Life Month resolution is calling on Congress to reaffirm the fundamental truth that life is an inalienable right and urging policymakers to enact laws that protect the unborn and provide resources to mothers and families. The joint resolution was introduced by U.S. Senator Ted Cruz from Texas on June 3rd and has since been co-sponsored by 28 other Republican senators. As we near the end of June, the Grassroots initiative Fidelity Month is holding a national day of prayer and fasting to unite us as one nation under God. The Catechism of the Catholic Church outlines the importance of fasting and prayer, saying in part, quote, Scripture and the Fathers insist above all on three forms: fasting, prayer, and almsgiving, which express conversion in relation to oneself, to God, and to others, unquote. As we previously reported, Fidelity Month aims to ignite a recommitment to God and our families, as well as to our communities and nation. Robert George, professor at Princeton and the founder of this movement, says the National Day of Prayer and Fasting was inspired by an iconic former president.
I was inspired to do that by Abraham Lincoln. When he was trying to renew our country, which had fallen into the most dangerous possible situation, where brother was fighting brother, killing brother. what did he do? He declared a day of prayer and fasting, a day of repentance. Yeah. And he said the reason that we have fallen into this sorry state is that we have forgotten God. And so he used that day of fasting and prayer to call Americans to recall our national commitment to being one nation, as he put it in Gettysburg, under God. So if we're going to renew ourselves, no better example than the one Lincoln sets. Let's include a day of prayer and fasting to bring us back to our first principles.
The National Day of Prayer and Fasting will take place all day on Tuesday, June 24th. Pro-life advocates from all across Oklahoma filled the streets of Oklahoma City on Saturday, June 7th to march for the protection of life. The march was followed by a rally on the steps of the Oklahoma Capitol building with keynote speeches by Archbishop Paul Coakley from the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, State Governor Kevin Stitt, and U.S. Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma. Those organizing the march recognized that a single event at the Capitol would not reach the rural areas of the state. So, to reach more communities, they offered a live stream of the rally. The city of Tulsa broadcast a live stream downtown, where more advocates gathered to be a witness to life. Another state march for life is right around the corner. The city of Des Moines on Saturday, June 21st, will hear the pro-life chants and prayers of marchers. It will begin with a rally at the Iowa State Capitol Rotunda, followed by a march around the Capitol and Supreme Court buildings. Make sure to tune in next week for a full report on Iowa's March for Life. That does it for this edition of EWTN Pro-Life Weekly. Be sure to like and follow us on our social media channels. You can find us at EWTN Pro-Life on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And sign up for our newsletter, The Pro-Life Pulse, EWTN.com/pro-life. Remember, life is a gift. Your life is a gift. God bless.